Bengals running back Joe Mixon, Ravens running back Mark Ingram, or Broncos tailback Phillip Lindsay. The Athletic says the Packers have spoken with the Texans about wide receiver Will Fuller. The game between Wisconsin and Nebraska this Saturday canceled because of a COVID outbreak on the Badger football team. Daryl Morey to lead the Sixers front office.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's time for the Rundown with Rob Sanders.
Well, we're waiting.
Well, welcome into the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeart Radio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Got a lot of stuff to get to today. What do you know about Boston College? Look, we can all be fans. That's great. But the reality is that what do you really know about the team coming down to play Clemson this weekend? So I thought I would help you out a little bit. We're going to have on with us later on AJ Black from the Boston College SI website, BC Bulletin. He will join us here momentarily. But I'm happy to bring onto the phones right now former Clemson linebacker, former Steelers linebacker. You had so many great things you did in your career, but now you're my friend of the program, and it's great to have Levon Kirkland on the show with us. Levon, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, man, how you doing? I'm doing well. Thank you so much for asking. I appreciate it.
Well, it's great that you joined us here today, and I got some questions for you about some ACC-type stuff. But I want to start with Clemson. The big news coming out of Clemson this week is that Skalski is not going to be able to play for the Tigers. And from what I've read, and now obviously I didn't play like you did, but he did play that Mike linebacker spot. And with him gone, man, how do you think that will affect the Tiger defense?
So it's going to affect them in some ways because Skalski is not only, I think, the emotional leader, but I also think that he brings something to the table. He's a tough guy. He's the quarterback of the defense. And when you lose that, you're going to take a step back. But I thought Jay Venables did a good job last week against Syracuse. And, you know, I did a little training with Jay when he was at the Adidas All-Star camp.
Right.
And the guy is a player. He really is. He's a good player. I can see him doing well and growing in his role. But, you know, it's going to be a little bit of a loss.
At that position, though, is that sort of like the quarterback of the defense?
Yeah, you know, in a lot of ways, I believe that it is. You know, you do have the free safety who kind of lines up the secondary. But as far as the front four is concerned, that middle linebacker is important. I mean, he gets everybody lined up. He's the guy that you kind of depend on to make sure everything is in order. Basically, he's kind of the manager on the field. So when you lose a guy like that, it's not always easy to replace him. But I think Jay has a very good account and knowledge of the defense. I see him doing well in that role. So, you know, we'll see how things go. But yeah, losing Stockton was a big deal, I think.
You know, Clemson, of course, had their matchup with Syracuse last weekend. And, you know, Coach Sweeney came out and said, I want to make sure I'm in the right locker room or the right press conference. I mean, they won by almost 4 touchdowns. And I've said it this week on the show. Are Clemson fans getting a little spoiled?
Indeed, they are. And they're getting spoiled because, you know, they're so accustomed great plays and beating everybody and hitting the home runs. And a lot of time, you know, the players are on point. They come prepared and ready to play the game. But I mean, they're college kids, so you have to recognize that they're not going to be perfect every single game. You have to understand that and give them a break. So, yeah, I just think all the success that Clemson has had, it's kind of made some of the fans a little bit spoiled. And it's just funny. I mean, I think you need to enjoy what's happening right now at Clemson and understand that, you know, this may not always be. You know, it may be ending at some point in time pretty soon. So you have to, you have to appreciate it for what it is. And sometimes the fans, they're fans. They get a little beside themselves, and sometimes the media get a little beside themselves also. So you just have to, keep it all in perspective. And I think that Clemson has done a good job thus far. I mean, it's been a renaissance of their defense and of their team. And if you don't like what they've done, I mean, you don't really quite get it.
Yeah, and that was kind of my thing coming out of it, and it just seemed like, and Twitter's a nasty place. That's on football Saturdays. It really, really is a nasty place. Anyway, it can be, and it could be great too. But in reality, it's like, wow, and you just want to tell them, hey, you're not lining up, so calm down.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I look at it.
I want to add another thing too.
Sure.
I just don't believe in criticizing young men. I don't believe criticizing college players. And when I see people criticize college players, I get a little upset because they're young players. They don't know everything. They're not quite grown. And, and they're not professional football players. If they're professional football players, then, hey, it is what it is. But when those guys are in college, man, and they're doing the very best they can possibly do, and you're a fan and you're trying to criticize a young man, I just think that's ridiculous. That's just me.
It is. And you know what, though? And I put this out on Twitter the other day. If you want to, if you're upset with what you see on the field, you can tweet at the coaches because they're getting paid. And that doesn't really bother me. But when you tweeted a guy that's 18 years old, how many of us were perfect at 18 years old? That just baffles me, man. I just don't get it.
Yeah, it really baffles me too. And I've been in that situation with a young kid, and we didn't get the coverage that they get now. But man, I think they do an amazing job with all the pressure that they have, all the scrutiny that they have. And so for someone to criticize a player, I think it's ridiculous.
All right, well, let's talk about some other stuff here with the Clemson program. Of course, Clemson plays Boston College this Saturday at high noon at Death Valley. And, Trevor Lawrence came out yesterday and made a comment about it wasn't a hey, I'm coming back. He said, hey, I'm planning to leave, but you never know. Kind of opening the door of maybe he wants to come back. I mean, if you had the chance to sit down with Trevor Lawrence, what would you advise him to do?
I would tell Trevor to, you got to weigh your options. You got to see what's going to happen. But I think Trevor is in a power play, or he's in a position that he actually has a lot of leverage. And if he doesn't want to go to a good bad team, and most likely is looking more and more like the Jets that has been operating in the mud. I mean, it's just been a bad organization for the last few years. I get it. Because,
but on the other hand, Levon, and I don't mean to interrupt you here, but he's going to be the top quarterback in the draft, number 1 or number 2. I mean, we can argue Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence. It doesn't matter, but he's going to be a top 5 pick regardless. Most of the top 5 teams that are picking in the draft are not very good. I mean, but I guess I kind of get where you're going with. The Jets have been terrible since Namath, basically.
Yeah, they're, especially not good. And if they keep the same regime, I don't know if it's going to get better. Now, if you throw in one of these college coaches that really are amazing scheme-wise on offense, then that's a possibility. You get is it Lincoln Riley? What's his name?
Lincoln Riley from Oklahoma.
You get somebody like that, and you get the coach you get Daly from Ohio State.
Right.
That's really dynamic on offense. Then that could change things. But I just don't think the coach they got now. I think he has lost the players.
Right.
I think that nobody really believes in what he's doing. And a lot of times when you're an NFL player, and, a lot of times it depends on where you get drafted. And you want to get drafted to at least a decent organization, an organization you work with. And like I said, most times guys are not in a power position. Trevor is in a power position. And that's why he can say, you know what, I got some options here. He got some options. But I would say, you have to be trying to, you're going back to get hurt, man. That could be devastating. So, I think he has some options. I think he has to just kind of really understand and feel in his heart what's the best. And I think you always go with what's in your gut, what's in your heart. And hopefully he'll do that.
Well, he is in that power position as you talked about, but I mean, I think it's a 9 of 10 chance he's going to head to the NFL. I mean, it just makes the most sense. And I mean, he said that before, hey, this is going to be my last year there, but maybe he's just kind of floating out the old weather balloon just to see what would happen there.
He has the right to change his mind. He likes to change his mind. I mean, it is his, the bottom line is it is his decision. But I'm like you. I think he probably will go win, and they'll probably have a strategy of what to do. Quarterbacks are different than most of the positions in the NFL. Most of the time, you don't have the power play. I mean, Eli did the same thing. When he had the power play and he could do it, he did it. Archie Manning went to New Orleans and got destroyed. So he didn't want his son to go through that. I know that Trevor's really close with the Mannings, and I'm sure that he's going to seek their advice also on what to do. But, I mean, you never know. And we'll see what happens on draft day. But, I mean, you have an interesting point. I think I have an interesting viewpoint about it. And, time will tell.
Well, it should be interesting to see which way he goes. But I wanted to talk a minute about Xavier Thomas and how he's been projected to be just an all outstanding type player, but it's almost like he's just had bad luck. With the way that his career has been at Clemson, do you think that he's a guy that would take advantage of getting an extra year of eligibility and coming back for, say, next season?
I think so, because if you're looking at where he's probably going to be projected, I think it's not where he probably wants to be projected. And unfortunately, he has been hurt by the bug, but also, too, I mean, there's a risk of him coming back. I mean, if he comes back, he gets hurt again, that'd be another delay. So we'll see. I think for him, he has to really take advantage of this opportunity that he's coming back, try to gain some ground. And people see it at the end of the year. You see how he progresses. And a lot of times, the scouts look at it differently. They look at sometimes they look at your whole resume. They don't always look at, he's been hurt, whatever like that. Somebody may see him and say, hey, this guy has a lot of potential. And we can get him at we can get him in a later round, and he could be a very high value because he has the potential to be a great, all that some in his freshman year. You saw some of it in his sophomore year. I kind of thought he was playing a little bit out of position, but yeah, I mean, I think Xavier has an opportunity. He has a chance, and he's kind of down my way, so I'm going to root for him. Again, it's a decision that the individual has to make. We can go on all day and speculate what he could be, but it's up to him, and I'm sure he'll make the right choice for him. And that's all you can really possibly do, just sit back and see what he does. But will he benefit? You never know. You never know if he will benefit, because we're assuming that everything goes right. But what if he gets hurt again?
Yeah, that's kind of the X factor there. You never know. The injuries can come at any point of it. So I have one question I want to ask you. And of course, you've done some time on different coaching staffs. And how would you deal with college kids as far as with I call it the bubble with COVID-19, because there's rumors out there now with Wisconsin's going to be playing with their 4th-string quarterback this weekend because one young man ended up with the virus, and it's a mess across the board. But how would you deal with actually having a bubble on campus for your team?
Yeah, I think it's really difficult. I don't really think that we all know what COVID is all about. I think we're still learning
Right.
its effects and what it can do. So I think the best possible thing you can do is you try to trust what they're saying in the medical field, and you try to implement it as best as you can. And you try to make sure that they have examples of what could happen if they don't do the right thing. You know, you're not being vigilant. You're gonna cost your team. And you got to talk more about what's going to happen to your team. So, as a coach, you got to really emphasize this COVID and what it could possibly do. And I'm sure that it has changed a lot in college football. I think in the NFL, you have the money and, that you can do the testing and all that. But I can imagine being a smaller school, it has to be a little tough, trying to navigate that whole situation. So, as a coach, man, you just got to kind of continue to preach and tell them to be diligent in what they're doing and understanding the consequences of not following protocol. I mean, even if you do follow protocol, it still could happen. But the best thing you can do as a team is to try to follow the rules and really just be on the straight and narrow.
All right. Well, I have to ask, and there's a lot of young men that have decided, hey, we're going to opt out and just wait until next season. If your son were playing, would you have your son opt out, or would you let your son at least go and try to get a season in?
I have a daughter that plays volleyball. My daughter's pretty decent volleyball player.
Of course she is. Look at her dad. She's got to be an athlete.
Well, look at her mom. That's the thing.
That's the thing. I'm with you on that.
Yeah. But she, I love to see her play volleyball. I really do. But, she opted out. She didn't want to, she's kind of a germaphobic, and she didn't really want to play. And the only thing I have to do is really support her. A part of me wants her to play. A part of me who's been an athlete, you want them to go out there. But in her case, I was like, okay, hey, you got, but she had another year. I can imagine you being a senior would be a little difficult, especially if you are trying to, go to the next level. So I can understand why the urgency may be a little bit more. But my daughter was like, she's not going to play. She's going to train with her. She's going to train with the club coach, and we can go from there. And I was like, hey, I get it. I understand.
All right. Well,
I think as a parent, you just have to be understanding.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. It's just so complicated because, there's so much information out there. You really don't know which way to go. So there really is no wrong answer, in my opinion, with that. If you want either way you want to go, but let's talk for a minute about the Boston College game this week. Boston College comes in. We're going to have AJ Black from BC Bulletin on with us later on, but this is kind of a refreshed football team. And I use the word trap game because everybody's looking forward to that big top 5 matchup, the ACC game of the year next week with Clemson and Notre Dame. But Boston College is a solid football team.
Yeah. If you're Dabo Swinney, you got to continue to preach to your kids that they have to be a lot better than what they did with Syracuse, because, a lot of times when you look at a Boston College team, they were so predictable. They just ran the ball and they relied on their defense and they relied on their special teams. I just think in this day and age with the dynamic offenses that are going on, you have to be a dynamic offense. I think now you win on offense. I really think that defenses have not caught up, whether it's scheme or whether it's players or whether it's rules, they have not caught up. So if you're not dynamic on offense and you can't score points, you're going to be in trouble. And the Boston College, although a very well-coached team, they could not score enough points to stay with anybody, especially a team like Clemson. So now they kind of change it around. And I think they have a winning formula at Boston. I think that they may not have caught up with the athletes that Clemson has, but is this a trap game? Yes, because it only takes, you look at Syracuse, you make a couple big plays here and there, you're in the game. And if it's the fourth quarter, you have the opportunity to make things happen. So I think that this game is a game that Clemson cannot overlook to the Notre Dame game. I think this is a game that they have to really be focused in. And if they're not, man, they could definitely get upset. I can see that happen.
Final question for Levon Kirkland. Of course, he's in the Clemson Ring of Honor, a member of the old decade team in the 90s for the NFL. A great Steelers linebacker. We appreciate him joining us on the program today. The young man that's playing quarterback for Boston College, Jerkovich, I looked up some stuff on him. This guy is 6'5", 240 pounds, and plays quarterback. That is almost like that is a big guy back there playing quarterback. And it's almost like people hit him and he just doesn't go down. When you were on defense and you've seen a guy that big, what's the best way to try to contain a big, huge quarterback like that?
Well, that's a really good question. I think, a guy like that, you got to make sure you're hitting him where the ball is. If you're trying to attack him around the legs or whatever like that, he may shake you off. So I would say, with a guy like that, you got to attack the ball. Because if you can get the ball out, or you can make him concerned that you're going for the ball and turnovers when you sack him, you got an opportunity. But if you're just trying to, I call it winging, and just kind of go in there and lollygag around, he's going to break those tackles and he can make things happen. I'm telling you, this Boston College team is a different dynamic than they've been in the last 6 or 7 years. This team could actually score points. They're disciplined. They got a coaching staff with a bunch of NFL guys on it. So these guys, they understand football and they know scheme. And now it's about the belief and the buy-in. And it seems like that's what Boston College is doing. They're buying in, and they're going to, they have nothing to lose when they play Clemson. Absolutely nothing to lose. So Clemson has to be, in a lot of ways, really prepared for this game, or, it could possibly be an upset.
I tell you what, man, it is going to be an interesting matchup. Before we get you out of here, Ryan online says he used to work with your brother Albert back in the day, and he appreciates the fact you signed a Pittsburgh Steelers card for him. So, everybody loves Levon, man. It's great.
It's amazing that I still get the love I do. One time I kind of shook it off, but now I just really embrace it, man. I embrace the career that I had. I really look back on it and say, Levon, you did a lot of great things. And when people approach me that way, I try to be very gracious and, sign their autographs, try to make them feel good. I think that's what we're supposed to do in life. We're supposed to treat people well.
Yeah.
And that's my whole goal, to treat people well. If they ask me for an autograph, I don't care if I didn't play since 2003. I'm glad people remember. I really am. I'm glad people remember me in a very positive way. And, I'm just going to continue to do the very best I can possibly do in every situation. So any fan wants to, say hello or anything like that, man, I'm really grateful for that. And I really am just blessed by God to be able to be in that situation and to make people happy. And I think that's what you're supposed to do. So, tell Ryan I said thank you.
All right, well, there you go. Hey, man, I appreciate you breaking down a little bit of Boston College today. And look, I look forward to having you back on later on, man. Thank you so much.
Oh, man, thank you, Rob. I really appreciate it.
All right, there you go. Levon, tell us about your podcast really quick, man. You're doing a podcast with Will Vandervoort, right?
Yeah, I'm doing a podcast with Will, and it's on the Believe Network, and it's Clemson football with Levon Kirkland, and we basically break down the games. We talk about the game that's coming, a preview of the game that's coming, the next week. We talk about everything related to Clemson football. And I think that you get a perspective from a guy that's in there and has done that, who's coached on all levels, who's played on all levels. And I think it's an experience and knowledge base that you're not going to get anywhere else. And then also, we're just having a lot of fun talking about the game we love. I love talking about the game, and especially Clemson football, good or bad. I try to be as objective as I possibly can, and it's been a lot of fun. So if you can, man, just tune into it. I think you really would enjoy it. I think you will.
All right, Levon, look forward to having you back on later on, man. Thank you so much.
Hey, man, thank you so much, too. I really appreciate it. Hey, could I say something about the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame really quick?
Absolutely. Yeah, you work a lot with that, right? Tell us about that.
I do. In South Carolina, we have a problem. We're ranked 43rd in college and career readiness.
Wow.
And that's something that a lot of people don't know. And if you think about it, when you want to be 43rd in anything, you don't. And if we continue with this trend, not only are students are going to be left behind, but communities will suffer, and therefore South Carolina will suffer. But we have we call the Bridge Builders Excellent Program. And what we do is we educate, we empower, and we encourage students to be the very best and to be ready for college and career endeavors.
Mm-hmm.
And with that plan, we're going to different schools. We're talking to touchdown clubs. We're trying to get advertisers. We're trying to get people who can volunteer for us, or people who want to be donors. But everybody has skin in this game. Everybody knows a student athlete or a student, and they have skin in the game. So our call to action is get in touch with us at South Carolina Football spelled out HOF.org and join us. Not join us, but commit to the movement of getting our kids in the top 10% in 2030.
Hey, I completely agree with you on that. My wife is a middle school teacher, and she would love to definitely get involved with that, man. I mean, you're right. You're absolutely right about that. So
tell her to check us out. You can be a volunteer. You can be a member, a monthly member. You can advertise on our podcast, the Inside Blitz with Levon Kirkland, and our live streams and our ceremonies that we have. You can be involved, and there's no excuse for you not to be involved.
Well, hey, I appreciate it, and hopefully folks will check that out, and of course your podcast as well. Levon, once again, thanks for coming on the program, man.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, there you go. Levon Kirkland, former Clemson linebacker, joining us today on the program. Lots of great information, and I tell you what, the cool part about having someone like Levon come and join us on the show is that, as he said, he's played at all levels. He's coached at all levels. So he understands the game, and he's I think he's probably our most football knowledge, best football knowledge person that we bring on the show. He knows all about it, from playing with the Steelers to playing with the Tigers to coaching. He was an assistant coach in the NFL as well. So great information there from Levon Kirkland. And I tell you what he said about the Syracuse team, not the Syracuse team, the Boston College team coming in this weekend. Clemson is a 31-point favorite in that matchup. We had Levon Kirkland in here last year, and he told us that South Carolina had the tools to beat Georgia. And I tell you what, my buddy Trey and I, Trey Gunnels, one of our folks that does some guest writing on our blog page, the two of us kind of looked at each other and we kind of grinned a little bit. And then sure enough, Levon tells us that on a Thursday, or it was a Friday. Tells us that on a Friday, and then all of a sudden Saturday comes and the Gamecocks win. I mean, and he broke down exactly how they could do it. And it was very interesting and some good stuff there. So if you missed any of that interview with Levon Kirkland, be sure to check it out. It'll be up on the podcast this afternoon at about 5 o'clock. Just great stuff there. Happy to call Levon Kirkland a friend of the program. We're going to have AJ Black on once we get back from our break here. AJ covers the Boston College team, so we can get an idea of what Boston College is bringing to Clemson this weekend. And I tell you what, when you go to a game, it's nice to kind of know some of that stuff. Okay, this guy is good, that guy is good, and I'm condensing it all down so you don't have to read a whole lot. Not that reading's bad, but you can listen to it. So we'll have that interview. I did that earlier today with AJ Black, and we'll talk with him momentarily. Of course, as I said, the podcast is up at 5:00 today. You can listen to all of our stuff in the archive. Everything from Crazy Uncle Lou to interviews that I've done with UFC fighters to all over the place. I was looking back at some of the interviews I've did, everything from NFL head coaches on down. All of that's up on the podcast. All right, so we'll take a quick break. When we come back, AJ Black from SI.com joins us to break down Boston College and Clemson. More of the rundown in just a moment. You're on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Hey, I appreciate you guys checking us out over there. If you could subscribe to the page, that would be awesome. That would be great. So thank you so much. I do a show every day, 3 to 4, about 48 minutes worth of good sports talk that is not that's honest with you, because there's a lot of stuff out there that's not. I listen to some of these other shows and I'm like, how do you do this? It's crazy. Hold on, man.
Stands with the radicals who want to defund the police. Heck, he'd be another vote for Chuck Schumer and the liberals. Jamie Harrison has zero experience and dangerous ideas. Come on, that's not what South Carolina needs. We need real experience and support for law enforcement. We need Senator Lindsey Graham to keep our communities safe.
Security is Strength Pack, paid for and responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. SecurityIsStrength.com.
Okay, so this will totally tell my age, but my first cell phone was a bag phone. These days, nobody would use one of those old things. So then why are you cleaning your carpets the same old way? That's why I choose the Advanced Clean of Zero Res. Their patented cleaning process uses powered water technology to give you a superior, longer-lasting clean than those old methods ever could. Right now, get 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119 plus a free hallway. Call Zero Res today at 803-262-4020 or schedule online at ZeroResColumbia.com.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company presents and Doug.
Fasten your seatbelts, folks. We'll be prepared for takeoff.
Limu, how cool is this? Your first time flying. Oh, I didn't mean... Listen, Limu, you might not be able to fly, but you do something even cooler. You tell strangers that Liberty Mutual customizes their car insurance so they only pay for what they need.
Sir, do you have a certificate for your service bird?
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Get a customized quote at libertymutual.com.
When you get in your car, you need the best directions to get where you want to be.
Will arrive at your retirement in 8 years.
The same is true for your retirement. You need a voice to guide you along the way. Join Pat Struby for Save Your Retirement with Pat Struby. Pat's 18 years of experience can help make your retirement journey feel like a drive down easy street.
Arriving at your retirement.
Saturdays, 6 a.m. on Fox Sports Radio, and Saturdays at noon and Sundays at 9 on 560 WVOC for Save Your Retirement with Pat Struby.
When a community grows, its hospital should grow too. And that's just what we're doing at Lexington Medical Center. We recently launched the largest hospital expansion project in South Carolina history. Our new 10-story patient tower will help us take better care of patients, including the tiniest infants who need special attention. It will also make room for the growing number of patients who need surgery and intensive care. At Lexington Medical Center, our mission to serve our community never wavers. We're here when you need us today, and we'll be there when you need us tomorrow.
Hi, I'm Alicia Kaufman-Quinton. My daddy, Billy Kaufman, opened Kaufman's Meat Plant at our present location in 1955. My family still works hard every day to ensure fresh quality cuts of beef, pork, and poultry. How about a tasty T-bone, ribeye, or New York strip steak? But to order at Kaufman's Meat and Place. Just look for the signs near the intersection of US 1 and I-80 in Lexington. Call us at 356-0076 to place your order. Kaufman's Meat and Place, when you want the very best your money can buy.
This is Chris Collinsworth. Here's what's trending on the iHeart Sports Network, presented by DraftKings.
Kyle Larson will drive for Hendrick Motorsports next season. Larson signed today to drive Hendrick's number 5 Chevy less than 2 weeks after completing conditions of his NASCAR suspension for using a racial slur. Clemson faces BC Saturday, the 124th anniversary of the school's first football game. Tigers beat Furman that day and hope for a winning outcome against BC. And Big Ten being forced to cancel its first game because of COVID. Dozen positive tests on Wisconsin's team will make the Nebraska game a no contest. I'm Scott Davidson.
Get in on all this week's action. Download the DraftKings app now. Enter code SPORTS during sign-up to try DraftKings for free. Don't forget, that's code SPORTS to try DraftKings for free. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Sports Radio. Fox Attitude. You're listening to Fox Sports Radio 1400.
Welcome back to the rundown. We'll get with the AJ Black in just a moment. Let's head out to the phones. Good afternoon. Welcome into the rundown.
Hey, this is Ray. How you doing?
Ray, what's going on, buddy? How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. And I just want to talk a little Carolina. And I really appreciate the work you do with Pops and Rob.
Yeah, Pops and Justin, man. Yeah, I work with them on.
I appreciate it. I listen to you guys. But anyway, I just wanted to just tell you the latest news that one of our Homer, talking about Gamecocks, and I'm a Gamecock fan, Homer website, they're coming out and they're comparing Muschamp to Steve Spurrier first 4 years, and they're saying, well, things are about where they were. And listen to their ideology. Their logic or ideologic, whatever you want to call it. They're saying that because they both had the same amount of conference wins, their record within the conference is the same, so the programs are the same. So I looked it up. Coach Muschamp has beaten 3 ranked teams in the first 4 years.
Right.
Coach Spurrier beat 6 ranked teams in his first 4 years. The conference record was the same, but the overall record, Coach Muschamp was 28-22 in his first 4 years. First 50 games, Coach Muschamp was 25-25. Well, if you're a baseball guy, would you rather be 500 or 6 games over 500?
Well, and how about this? Coach Spurrier beat the snot out of Clemson. I mean, let's just throw that out there. Coach Spurrier, I mean, he was mocking Dabo Swinney openly, and people can you can look at that however you want to look at it, but it's the absolute truth. He did so much better against his rival, and look at the guys that he brought in. And it was an issue of, yes, he got guys like Stephon Gilmore and DJ Swearinger and guys like that to come program. When people say they compare Muschamp to Coach Spurrier, it's pretty funny. I mean, it really is.
It's laughable, and it's almost like, we just had a total embarrassing loss at Baton Rouge. And it's almost like the powers that be, heck, I wonder if Ray Tanner's part of this. I don't know. The powers that be, they would have put out this memo. They're trying to find some bright silver lining, I guess. And it's just, and they're making themselves just look just not good. It's not a good look to do this kind of thing. And golly, wow. But anyway.
Well, I'm not ripping completely on what Coach Muschamp has done. I do think that, and I use this a lot, the 24/7 composite roster index, South Carolina has the 21st ranked roster in the country. So if you've got that much talent, you should be able to do better than what they're doing now. And if you really look inside the numbers, the majority of that talent's on the defensive side of the ball. So you would expect the defense to not go to LSU and to basically get their face kicked in by a freshman quarterback. I don't think that's too much to ask as anyone that follows the program. That shouldn't be happening when you've got that much talent on your roster.
And Rob, the thing is, LSU has all these 5-star, Clemson has a bunch of 5-stars as well.
Right.
But I got to think, on our defensive line, we have 2 5-star guys.
Well, and let's be honest, Ricky Sandage is a great player. Of course, the young man from the upstate, whose name escapes my brain right this second, but then you've got the young man Birch from down here in Hammond, who's a freshman and is doing some stuff there. But you look at the secondary, and I think that J.C. Horn and Mukwamu are both going to be guys that are drafted in the first 3 rounds of the draft. Why is it that they're terrible on certain plays right over the middle of the field? I just don't get it.
Well, I know I'm taking up a lot of your time, and I appreciate it. But other than Horn, if you look at it, heck, we're not, Rob, we're not even in the same area code with the receivers of the other team. It's like we play this, well, let's let him catch the ball, and then we'll tackle him.
I'm with you on that.
Those slants, they're wide open. I think I could complete a couple of them here and there, but anyway, just thanks for letting me rant. But when I heard that earlier today about the comparison, I about drove into a ditch. I was like, what? I literally just got myself. But thank you very kindly. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Hey, appreciate you joining the rundown this afternoon. And of course, you can call us as well at 803-978-1832. I will play this interview I did with AJ Black from the SI.com. He covers the Boston College team, and I spoke with him earlier. Here are his comments on the matchup that is going down this weekend at Death Valley. Out to the phones, we welcome in AJ Black from BC Bulletin to talk a little bit about the Boston College and the Clemson Tigers. AJ, thanks for joining us on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
You know, Boston College is a team that's kind of surprised some folks this year, having a pretty decent overall season when, if you look at it from the beginning of the season, not much was thought to come from the Eagles in the first year under a new head coach. But tell us about your new head coach and what he's brought in that has really stuck with the Eagles.
Yeah, so Jeff Hafley, he's the former defensive coordinator of Ohio State, who played against you guys at the Fiesta Bowl last year. He's talked about a lot about that this year. He has brought quite the level of stability, I think, is the word I would use for how he's kind of managed this kind of tumultuous beginning of the year for all schools. He came in and he had to uproot basically a program that was known for, the ground and pound offense and make it more of a pro style, under a new offensive coordinator, Frank Signetti Jr., who was with Pitt, and he's bounced around as well. So he has had that time to kind of fill that out. He's, also done a great job on the recruiting trail, and with personnel, I feel like he connects well with kids. And I think that's a big thing is he has the personality of some of the newer coaches, almost like Dabo a little bit, where he can connect with kids. He's not like a screamer and yeller. He's a guy that, really wants to talk to them and get to know them. And I think it's really resonated. And the play on the field, I think had to do a lot with his work on the transfer market. I mean, we have Phil Dracovic, quarterback, coming from Notre Dame. He's a former blue chip. He's, one of the better quarterbacks in ACC this year. And that transition from ground and pound to a pro style offense has gone a lot quicker than many expected.
Well, and with that, getting away from that ground and pound, and it seemed like under the former administration, it was, hey, 6-4 or 8-4 is a great season. But it seems like when you transition into this pro offense under what coach is trying to bring here, that's something that he can get better recruits over time. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And I think it's already starting to play out. He got a forced quarterback from the class of 22 already, the top recruit in New Jersey, and, getting more weapons that are more interested in coming to BC. And I think that is, as you were just saying, it resonates on the recruiting trail. They're getting guys that want to play here. It's no longer BC, the team that has, 4-star offensive linemen and then some questions on every other weapon at wide receiver and some of those other positions on offense. It's a team that is building something. It's building a program that has depth, that has flexibility, I think, too. You're looking at a team that can throw the ball, that can run the ball. And I think that's a big step in the right direction for BC.
All right. Well, with that, when Boston College comes down to Death Valley this Saturday, tell us about some of the playmakers on offense that if you're a fan and one of the 25,000 that can sit in the stands there, who are you going to look at as far as BC goes and pick out as guys who can make some plays?
Sure. There's a couple you want to watch for. Obviously, you want to look at the quarterback, Phil Dracovic. He's that transfer from Notre Dame. He's a 6'5", 250-pound quarterback. He's huge.
That is a big boy.
And, yeah. a lot of, if you ever listen to any of the games, a lot of them compare him to Ben Roethlisberger. He's just hard to tackle. He's mobile. He can move the ball with his legs. He's pretty quick. And he's got a great arm. So he's someone to watch. He's going to be the future. He's got, 3 or 4 years, depending on how eligibility goes after this year. So he's grown quite a bit, and he's someone to watch. Zay Flowers, Boston College has never been known for having speed. It's not something that we've ever had. Zay Flowers kind of snatched that mold. He's a guy that can tear the top off of a defense really easy. He's had multiple long runs this year. He's quick. He's talked a lot about learning how to be a wide receiver this year. Under Azazio, it was always, jet sweep, jet sweep, jet sweep. But now he's learning how to be a receiver, and it's paid off. He's an exciting guy. He's one of the top probably 3 or 4 receivers in the conference in terms of yards and catches this year. And then Hunter Long, their tight end. If you like good tight end play, he's quick, good hands. He's going to be an NFL caliber tight end next year, and he'll be someone probably going the second or third, probably third or fourth round, going on from that. And then on the defensive side of the ball,
right?
You might be. Oh, sorry, did I cut you off?
No, go ahead. I was going to give you my next thing was with the Eagles defense. Let us know about the playmakers there as well.
Yeah, so the big change that Hafley, I think, has really instituted is the solid play of the defense. He's a defensive-minded guy, and so the weapons were there. He just had to work with them. The secondary is very strong this year. You're going to see cornerback Brandon Sebastian. He'll probably be on Amari Rogers for most of the game. He's a bigger kid. He's physical. And I think that's what Hafley is pushing, is the physical man-to-man coverage on their defensive back. So he's probably the top defensive back DC has. And then there's Max Richardson, who is one of the top. I think he's either leading the country or second in the country in tackles. He's a machine. He makes big plays, and he's just a quick linebacker. And so those would be the 2 big defenders I would keep my eyes out for.
What's the vibe with the team coming down to Clemson to play the number 1 team in the country?
It's interesting to say that because Jeff Hafley was just talking about that today, about how it wouldn't be doing his job if he had been pushing that they're playing an elite team and, going all overboard with how they're preparing just because it's the number 1 team. He wanted to stress to his team that, yes, we have to be good and we have to do, be on top of our game to stop like Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne, but we have to treat this like every other game, because if we get too far in front of ourselves, we're never gonna win. It's going to be too much. So he's trying to instill a sense of calmness on the team, in the sense of, this is just like any other game. Let's treat it like every other game. We have things that we have to do and things we're going to need to accomplish to win, but we're not going to get ahead of ourselves.
All right. So an interesting matchup this weekend with Boston College coming down to Death Valley. Of course, AJ Black joins us today, and you've got a new podcast coming out this weekend, right?
Yeah, so I have just joined the Locked On Podcast Network. If you've been following on, there's a whole bunch of different sites and different podcasts that work, covering all sorts of schools and professional sports teams. So I'm starting up the Locked On Boston College podcast. It's going to drop next week. It's the daily 20 to 25 minute podcast. It goes over everything Boston College. I'll have on guests. I'll get into insight and overview. I'll be talking to different schools about, their programs. So you'll hear about Clemson at different times. So if you're interested, check it out. It's Locked On Boston College. I'll be analyzing the game on Monday morning.
All right, where do people find it so they can go download it?
Oh, yeah. So if you have a podcast directory, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, anything on your phone, you can find it. You can find it right now if you look up Locked On Boston College, hit that subscribe button, and you'll be good to go.
All right, so everything you need to know about Boston College on the lockdown on the podcast that's coming out this weekend, and of course, they got to go to your website too, man. I mean, the stuff that you guys put out about Boston College through BC Bulletin. If you want to know about the Eagles, that's the way to go, right?
Yeah, definitely check it out. So I've got a lot going on the site today. I have my keys to what Boston College has to do if they ever want to have a chance of beating Clemson. I'll be doing previews. I have coaches, I go over the conferences, press conferences, everything that you want to know about Boston College. And even if you're a Clemson fan, check it out. I kind of get into a lot of the nitty gritty in this game. So hope you check it out.
All right. AJ Black from BC Bulletin joins us on the rundown today. Thanks a lot, AJ. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.
More of the rundown when we come back. You're listening to Fox Sports Radio 1400.
Here's another $1,000 grand in your hand winner.
Woo! Oh, that made my day.
Oh, you're kidding me. That's unbelievable. That definitely makes for a great Wednesday.
That's awesome. I'm very happy.
No way. Oh, man. That's incredible, dude.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. I've been trying so hard. All right.
Keep listening for 12 chances to win $1,000 every weekday on Fox Sports Radio 1400.
Are you worried you might have COVID? Veritas Urgent Care in Lexington has COVID testing so you can find out. They keep wait times low, are veteran focused, and handle both insured and uninsured patients at low cost. Most importantly, every patient gets the time necessary from Dr. Hatami to treat their needs, and COVID testing through a secure and separate part of the building. Pre-book an appointment today at solvehealth.com, solvhealth.com. We put the urgent in urgent care.
Welcome to Ziphole USA. No questions, please edition. There's a fine line between too little and too much. But does anyone need to tweak their game plan? For the latest opinions, direct from the Ziphole USA app, here's Christina Staffo.
Senator Kamala Harris has been Biden's running mate for months, and aside from the VP debate, still has not taken formal questions from the press, and Joe seems to take a lot of days off. Do you think the Democrat ticket needs more visibility during this campaign? 86% say yes. Step it up, Joe. And President Trump, on the other hand, he never misses an opportunity to tweet, talk to the press, or hold a rally. Do you think Trump should pump the brakes on his visibility? At 64%, the majority say no, full steam ahead, but 36% of Zip pollers think yes, Trump should take a step back a little bit. Trump praised the New York Post for its reporting on Hunter Biden.
The biggest winner in this whole thing is a newspaper called the New York Post, the oldest paper in our country. What they have done is I'm very proud of them.
Do you think the New York Post will inspire more journalists to, do their jobs, or will they stay quiet on the Ukraine and Hunter Biden's laptop debacle? At almost 80%, most believe the press will protect Biden, while 21% believe the success of the Post story will cause journalists to maybe ask more questions.
Christina, download Ziphole USA in your favorite app store today. Share your opinions and make sure your voice is heard. We'll have poll results every day on the trending topics taken directly from the Zip app. Paid for by Ziphole USA.
13 days of Halloween. One story a night starting October 19th. Ending on Halloween. Produced in immersive 3D audio that you'll have to hear to believe. And starring Keegan-Michael Key as the caretaker.
This, my friend, is Hawthorne Manor. I am its caretaker.
From iHeartRadio and Blumhouse Television, listen to Aaron Mankey's 13 Days of Halloween on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Fox Sports Radio 1400. Online at foxsportsradio1400.com. On your phone with the iHeartRadio app and on hundreds of devices like Alexa, Google Home, Xbox, and Sonos. An iHeartRadio station.
All right, I got to move quick here. Final segment of the rundown. I could talk to you about Justin Turner and how he's a complete idiot, and he may have infected his entire team. I could talk to you about that, but he's an idiot. We'll highlight that tomorrow. I got to mention what Paul Feinbaum said today. Normally, Paul Feinbaum is a troll, and he looks like Spiegel from Lord of the Rings. We've talked about that before. But he actually said something viable today. I was absolutely stunned that Paul Feinbaum could say something that actually made sense. Thank you, Paul Feinbaum, for saying this today. When it came out that the Wisconsin-Nebraska game is canceled due to COVID-19, a breakout with the Wisconsin team, Feinbaum said this is what the Big Ten wanted. He said, remember August 11th, they said, we're done. We're not playing football this year. They were forced back into it because they looked around and they saw Notre Dame playing and they saw everyone else playing. They saw it being successful. The presidents of the Big Ten decided, okay, if you coaches want to come back, and we heard from Ryan Day and Scott Frost, we're going to put some serious teeth into the protocol. You have an immunologist and an epidemiologist, I hope I pronounced that correctly, who are presidents in the Big Ten, and they put what I think is a ridiculous 21-day protocol. Feinbaum doesn't understand why the Big Ten requires players to sit out 21 days when the SEC and the other conferences are going by a 10 to 14-day period. What does this tell you? The Big Ten screwed this up. We knew that from before. We know it even more now. And I'm not just mocking the Big Ten about the football that they're playing there. I'm talking about the leadership of the Big Ten. and the way that they put it out there. So Wisconsin ends up with all of these guys that test positive, and that effectively ruins their season. It's just the way that it is. These guys have to wait 21 days. You have an 8-week season, and they have to wait 3 weeks out. It's a mess. And by the way, if they do get a chance to play, they're going to have to play with like their 4th-string quarterback. This is Big Ten football. Kevin Warren should be fired before I end this show in 40 seconds. He should be gone. Anyway, we'll talk about that more tomorrow. Also, former Gamecock quarterback Corey Jenkins joins us to talk some SEC games tomorrow. You're listening to The Rundown. We will see you tomorrow on Fox Sports Radio 1400.
This is Joe Drummond from the band Fall Out Boy. The first time I voted was in